Hi, and thanks for coming back to the channel. Today I'm going to be talking about 5 great cooperative games. Cooperative games are a fantastic way to get new players into the hobby. And here are 5 that are going from that kind of entry into the hobby onto a bit more advanced, I would say. First, I'm going to do 2 little caveats. One is I'm not going to feature any legacy games. And the other thing I'm not going to feature in this video is Pandemic. The main reason for that, most people, their gateway into the hobby is through Pandemic. So if you're looking at getting into games, this is a really, really good one to start with. Without further ado, let's get on with the rest of the video. First up is Harry Potter Hogwarts Battle, the deck building game. In this game you are taking the roles of either Harry or Ron or Neville or Hermione, and you are building your deck, getting better and better and better, more magic items, more allies to strengthen your deck to be able to beat some of the famous Harry Potter villains, some Death Eaters and Bellatrix Lestrange and Voldemort and Tom Riddle and all the fun people, Draco Malfoy and Crabbe and Goyle. They're just annoying. Really fun, super easy to play, as in to learn, super easy to learn and know what you're doing, but it can get really, really difficult, especially in those later years, year 6 and year 7, really start building up the difficulty there. There are a load of expansions as well that you can add more cards to the deck and more difficulty with more baddies and things like that. But from the base game, this is an amazing start point with great IP as well. If you are a Harry Potter fan, then 100% recommend this. It will come to your table and it will be played over and over and over and over again. And it's definitely a fantastic, fantastic game to get. Next up would be Flashpoint Fire Rescue. Now in Flashpoint Fire Rescue, you are firefighters trying to put out a blaze in a house. At each turn, you move your firefighters to put out fires, roll some dice, more fire spreads throughout the house, blows up walls and stuff like that. And it's up to you to rescue people that are stranded inside the house and get them out of the property before it collapses, and everyone perishes. Really, it's quite dark, but phenomenal game. This is one of the co-op games that I really like to play at a higher player count. I do find that some co-op games really work so well at 2-player. Things like Pandemic, for example, they work really well at 2-player, and I think as soon as you start adding more people, more chefs in the kitchen, it really muddies the water. Everyone wants to try and do more than they need to. I think with Flashpoint, it's hard. It's really hard. So the escalation is there. So when that fire really starts spreading, you need those other people, those other action points to get to places around the house. At 2-player, it's very difficult. At 4-player, it's still really, really hard. And there's a lot of great detail in this game. So Flashpoint Fire Rescue, there are some expansions for it. I don't have any of the expansions for it. I don't feel personally that I need any because I think the base game is so good as it is. So Flashpoint Fire Rescue, definitely one of the unassuming kind of games, not the games you hear spoken about all the time, but I really like it because it's really difficult. Next up is an IP that I just didn't know I needed until I got it, and that is E.T. Light Years from Home. I'm not the biggest E.T. fan in the world. I enjoyed it when I was a kid, but I can live without it. But the retro feel of this game and the design quality, it's a beautifully aesthetic game. It's a stunning game, and the guys behind it have really done an amazing job. From gameplay point of view, it's difficult. You're the kids, you're riding around the town, you're trying to get machines built so you can phone home, funnily enough, to get E.T. onto the mothership and rescue E.T. and get him off the Earth so he doesn't pop off. There are police. There are police cars and agents hunting down E.T., hunting you down. So you've got this grid that you're trying to move around, and then suddenly the police will be there, and then you have to run, or you lose a life, or you're caught, that kind of thing. You have to go back home, that kind of thing. It's a really good game, and it is an unassuming game. It's difficult, and I really like it. Again, it's a difficult co-op to actually complete. Maybe there's a bit of luck involved, because there are dice involved but most of them have dice involved. The dice to move the police officers around and stuff like that, and to find the right tokens. But yeah, it's definitely one that I'm happily keeping in my collection. It's a wonderful little game. Doesn't necessarily come to the table as much, but when I do want a little co-op game that I can just bring out, and especially with people who are not hugely au fait with some mechanics in games, this is quite an easy one to kind of explain what we're doing. Your actions, really has a really nice sort of action card, a single card that just tells you all the things you can do, which is great, and all games should have those because they're a nightmare when they don't. But yeah, it's a very good little game where you have to try and rescue E.T. So that, E.T. Light Years from Home, the co-op game, is one you should definitely look out for, I would suggest. We have a real-time game, and a real-time game, essentially, everything is done by the clock. Everything is done on sand timers you have to keep turning over, and that is Rush MD. Rush MD is the second game in their sort of line. They did Kitchen Rush, which is you're having to serve people in the different dishes. You're turning over sand timers. But with Rush MD, it really gives you that sense of tension and that sense of stress that you could imagine doctors and nurses are under. You're flipping over sand times, you're doing operations, you're doing little in-game puzzles that you have to do, but you have to have the sand timer, you have to turn the sand timer over a specific time, and then you can only go back to that. There's one doctor that you can move around at different times as well, and different patients require different things. They'll either require syringe medication, an organ transplant, they might need pills, that kind of thing, and then everything you just have to deliver, but you have to bring the doctors to the right place, turn the sand timer over, move them, and you're under like a tremendous pressure to get it done within minutes. I will say there's a huge setup for this game. It's a huge table hog. It fills the table. There's a lot of setup, and the setup is longer than the gameplay. That's probably the only downside to this, and possibly the only downside to why I probably don't play it as often on games night. It's kind of the one that I would suggest, set it up, have your friends come over, play the game, turf it back in the box, because there's a bit of a setup. But once it's set up, it's hilarious. It's one of the funniest games that you'll play. So tense. The other thing about the administering the medication and everything, you have to fill up the syringes with little beads, but you can only do it with a pair of tweezers. You can only pick up everything you can pick up. You can't pick anything up by hand. You can only pick everything up by tweezers as well, which adds to more stress, more difficulty in the game, and it is phenomenal. It's hilarious. It's great fun, and I would recommend this. I would recommend this over Kitchen Rush, simply because I feel the theme for real time really fits better thematically. You are under that pressure, that time pressure. You really feel it here, and yeah, you get that in a restaurant. I'm imagining if you were running a restaurant, you would have time pressure to serve your customers, but this does feel like life and death. So Rush MD, definitely check it out if you haven't already. It's really fun, and it's very, 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 very good. Okay, for my next recommendation, it is under the... This isn't really going to be a get into game, new into the hobby co-op game, but it's definitely a great co-op game to go for. There is one proviso, and that proviso is that you need to own this. And and probably this. So viticulture is all about making wine, selling wine to people, and getting prestige points. What has recently been released is Viticulture World, the cooperative expansion. Now, I was quite sceptical about a cooperative version of Viticulture, and I never really thought it would work, but my gosh, it works, and it works really well. So you go through different stories, essentially, from different areas and different regions of the world to try and meet criteria and earn a certain amount of points to win the game. But each deck, and boy, it's difficult. It's so difficult, and it makes you come back for more. I have heard the one negative that people do say about Viticulture World is it's too difficult. But if it was easy, you wouldn't keep coming back to it. That's where Viticulture World really sits as a premium game with a huge amount of difficulty. You get lots of different cards, loads of ways to play, upgrade your board with different tiles and things like that. So it really elevates what is great about normal viticulture and elevates that even more and enables you to be able to play co-op. I wouldn't necessarily say this is the best way to learn viticulture, but it's actually a really good way to play viticulture with new players because there isn't the big teach. You can do a lot of hand holding and be like, don't worry, we can do this, how about we do this? You can lead it. And potentially by leading it, we'll get them to learn it, and then you can go, right, let's play a competitive game of ordinary viticulture because it's the best, one of the best. So yeah, Viticulture World is definitely one that is worth looking into if you own viticulture already. You don't need Tuscany. You don't have to play with Tuscany. You can just have base Viticulture Essential Edition and then just go straight into Viticulture World. So you don't need to have that. You can have Tuscany as well, just for the other side of the board. The new board in here is the double-sided board, so you have the standard side and you have the Tuscany side of the board, which is good because there's always more stuff to do. But yeah, Viticulture World. Thank you so much for being here, watching this video. Please leave a like, subscribe, share with your friends. Follow me over on Instagram at Get Into Games, on Twitter at Get Into Games, TikTok, I do a thing on there. Yeah, anywhere, go to getintogames.co.uk for more board game reviews and content. But yeah, keep up to date, hit the bell icon to get notified, and I will see you on the next one.